welcome to another episode of the Cold Bananas Show. I'm John Hanson.
I am Mike Lollinger.
And in this special episode, this is our fall movie preview. We're each going to pick 3 to see in the months of September through December to close out the year. And I'll start it off, if you don't mind, Michael.
Go ahead.
With my number 3 pick, it's Aquaman. And everything you read about DC EU is how terrible it is and how great the MCU is. And I think that's unfair. MCU is much better, don't get me wrong, but it's not as extreme of a gap as it's made out to be. My thinking is Aquaman can maybe right the ship a little bit. It looks amazing in terms of production design. I think Jason Momoa is well cast as Aquaman, and it has James Wan as the director. He has a good track record, mostly in horror films, but I believe he showed that he's versatile with a Fast and the Furious entry, right?
Yeah, he directed sort of the most emotionally grabbing Fast and the Furious entry.
Okay, so this could be wishful thinking, but I think this is a turnaround movie for the DCEU, and maybe a year from now, after this movie and Shazam, which could be fun, and Wonder Woman 1984, I think the fortunes might turn starting with this movie. So that's my hopeful number 3 pick for movies to see this fall. What's your number 3, Michael?
My number 3 is a neo-noir movie set half in my adopted home state, called Bad Times at the El Royale. This movie blipped onto my radar with the first trailer. I had no idea it was being made before I saw the first advertising for it, but it just looks like this really cool ensemble piece. Has an amazing cast. Drew Goddard co-wrote and directed Cabin in the Woods and wrote The Martian, and has worked with Joss Whedon in the past. I think he was a writer on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yep, and Angel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, he has such a great pedigree as a writer, and as a director, his first movie is one that I absolutely loved. This sees him sort of in this grindhousey, dark and stormy night style, like Agatha Christie by way of Quentin Tarantino vibe, which just really looks like something that I would groove with. Yeah, so Bad Times at the El Royale is my number 3 pick.
Yeah, that was in my top 10 movies to see this fall as well. Now, next up is my number 2, and I have a feeling that you probably would have considered this for your top 3 if I hadn't grabbed it first. It's The Predator, or the Predfortor, as it was called in its early marketing. But it's the 4th Predator movie, or the 6th, depending on how you count. There's 2 that also have aliens in them, and I think this one could be the best since the original, just because the writer-director is Shane Black, someone who, if you had mentioned his name to me a year ago, I would have said, "Who's that?" and then you would have taught me about his work, which you did. And so since then, I have caught up on Iron Man 3, which is one of my favorite MCU movies, The Nice Guys, and also Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. 3 great Shane Black movies because of the way he writes his scripts and the way he undermines cliches and brings fun into genres that we're pretty familiar with, and he makes them feel fresh.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's number 4 probably on my list. But the reason that it's that low and not number 1 is just because, unlike you, I've been watching the trailers, which the trailers look awesome, but I've also been reading all the scuttlebutt behind the scenes, like the fact that they threw out the entire 3rd act and reshot it. And so that has...
But Shane Black rewrote the 3rd act.
Yeah, but it was sort of like the company had their gun to his head, metaphorically. I was just like, you're going to rewrite this, and here's what we want to see.
At any rate, it's a new movie in the Alien Predator universe, so
yeah,
that gives it bonus points on my list anyway. Michael, what's your number 2?
My number two is a movie called First Man. It is about the first man to walk on the moon. It is about Neil Armstrong, played by Ryan Gosling. And I'm a gigantic space nerd. You set a movie in space, and automatically my interest for it goes up. My interest in it goes up at least 50% just because of where you set it. This has the added advantage of being a story from history that I'm a huge fan of, and being written and directed by Damien Chazelle of Whiplash and of La La Land fame. But I mean, I'm interested to see Damien Chazelle's career develop and him take this next step. Just had its first screening at a film festival and received a huge standing ovation, and people are saying there's all sorts of awards buzz around it already. So, yeah, I'm totally on board. So, yeah, that's First Man is my number two most anticipated movie of the fall.
Okay, and my number one is an entry that we didn't have to fight over, I'm guessing. Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, which opens November 16th. Now, this is kind of like The Predator in the sense that it's a franchise that I love, so you don't have to convince me with trailers or hype to go to it. You can just tell me that it's coming out, and I'll be there, even in the theater for this one. I did take a peek at the trailers, and I think it might address some of your concerns in the sense that it has more of a Harry Potter flavor than the first one, which was really which is really almost like an encyclopedia of these cool creatures that J.K. Rowling invented, and that had its appeal more to insiders and less so for the wider general casual fan of the Harry Potter universe. I think it may have been a little too dry for some people, but I also really liked Eddie Redmayne's performance as the main character. Newt, who is very much the main character here the same way Harry Potter is in the original series. And in this one, we see him when he's younger in some flashbacks, seeing him come up through the ranks at Hogwarts.
And maybe I'm reading this wrong because I don't have an issue with these new Star Wars movies, but for some reason this just seems very much like it was created because Rowling ran out of Harry Potter product and was just like, please don't artificially create sequels for those characters. Here, I'll give you this new stuff. And it doesn't seem like it's necessary for the story that was told in the first 8 movies.
Necessary, maybe not, but they're fun.
Okay. Yeah.
And I have no idea what you're going to pick for your number one of the fall, so go ahead and surprise me.
My number one movie for this fall is going to be Halloween, which, I mean, I know there's a lot of awards contenders out there and a lot of really big budget movies, but I saw the first Halloween when I was like 8 or 9 years old. I snuck and I watched it behind my parents' back, and I didn't sleep for days, and I fell head over heels in love with that movie and with the horror genre as a whole right at that moment when I first saw that movie. This movie is going to ignore all of those sequels, though, and all 4, yes, that's right, 4 continuities that came before. Halloween 2, 4, 5, and 6. That's one continuity. Halloween 2, 7, and 8. That's a second continuity. Halloween 3 is its own continuity. And Rob Zombie's remake and the sequel to his remake is a 4th continuity. And none of that happened in this one. This is all just one straight shot sequel to John Carpenter's 1978 original. It does away with the idea that Laurie and Michael were brother and sister. It brings back Jamie Lee Curtis, which is cool. It brings back Nick Castle, who played Michael Myers in the first movie, before going on to a pretty successful directing career of his own. I mean, and it looks like it really is trying to recapture that classic tone of the first Halloween. When one of these movies comes out, it's a special experience for me and transports me right back to being a kid sitting under the covers in my bed, looking at the television screen between my eyes. So yeah, Halloween is definitely my most anticipated movie of this fall.
All right, and Halloween H4O, as I call it, comes out October 19th. Those are our 6 movies to see this fall. We hope you'll check them out, and we hope they'll be good. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Later.